Today is a day when you can see one of the departmentals, which will count for recital attendance, and is probably going to be really short. They have to be at least 20 or 25 minutes long, and I think we're just barely over that 20 to 25 minute mark, whatever it is. So there are a couple singers that are going today, and whatever. It's right after this class over in
Second story auditorium.
yes, of Hamrick, next to the DCC. It's like, why can't I think of the name? Blanton Auditorium, but that's in Hamrick Hall is where that is. I would just walk everybody over there if they wanted to go, but I've got to stop by my office and grab the bag that has all the programs and the stuff in it. And I honestly don't think that we'll be here that long today, to be honest with you, because what I have made of the midterm quiz thus far is relatively short, and I don't see it getting any longer than that either. So, let me just put up a like a Word document, if you'll let me. Word, as we go through things, I'm just kind of going to write them up. All right, so. Stop trying to make Calibri happen.
I hate that. My computer doesn't.
Yeah, you can go in and change it. You can change your defaults, but
Who has time for that?
yeah, who's got time for any of that? So questions that I know that I have put on the midterm, for sure, are going to be things like, so characteristics of each era are going to show up. There's going to be a question about each one, right? There's going to be a question about each one. So if we had to say, with the Middle Ages, what would we say about the Middle Ages? Can anybody give me an art form that we talked about in the Middle Ages?
It's like really what's the word, like complex scenes with like different colors that are like really light and dark and stuff, and I can't remember the name though, the art style.
That different era.
Oh crap.
It's either sacred or secular. So sacred is just religious, secular is everything else.
Okay.
Most of it. Most is polyphonic.
Most of what is polyphonic?
Monophonic and polyphonic. Sorry.
That's all right. Which one is mostly monophonic?
Is it the sacred music?
And what type of monophonic chant, right? And then a lot of the secular music was polyphonic, but it's like weird polyphony, right? It's stuff that to our ears sounds really strange.
Unaccompanied melodies, which was mostly in church.
Right, that's that monophonic chant business. So that polyphony, the polyphony that occurs during the Middle Ages is kind of that strange-ish, like, ooh, what is this? It doesn't sound like major or minor. It's kind of modal sounding. It's neither one of them. Now, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I'm not going to put any Middle Ages polyphony on the midterm. It won't be there. Not at all. So if there is something from the Middle Ages, it's probably going to be chant. All right, Middle Ages chant. So some of our characteristic art forms. All right, we had religious chant. We had what else do we have? Not a whole lot else that we went over. We talked about morality plays during that era. And Oh, we talked about courtly love songs, right? Where if the knight is rejected by the lady, it's even better. But most of the songs are about her being beautiful and fair and worthy of all of his noble deeds and all of that stuff. If we're going to be totally honest, I'm probably not going to ask much about that. Love songs are something that has happened, throughout history and every era, so I'm not worried about asking you that question. I'm more caring that you guys know, hey, monophonic chant is kind of the big hallmark of the era this time around. All right, what about the Renaissance? If we talk about the Renaissance and say, what are some characteristics of music during the Renaissance? Or what's our big art form that we have during the Renaissance? There's one real big one.
Poetry.
Yeah, and?
Well, I got sculpture, painting, poetry, and plays.
Okay, all of those exist. What's our musical art form?
Madrigal.
The madrigal. Yeah, that's going to be our big one. The madrigals. And one of the features of madrigals were text painting, right? Like word painting or text painting, where the composer would create music that matched the text, if they possibly could, right? So that's something that they're trying to do during that time. It's mostly polyphonic and mostly vocal. So we've got mostly polyphonic, mostly vocal music. That's the Renaissance. It's based off of poetry, really. Now, is there sacred music happening during the Renaissance? Yes, in every single era, there's sacred music. Absolutely. But when you leave this class, what's one of the things I care that you know? If you take anything from this class, it's like, okay, in the Renaissance, they had madrigals. If you remember that one fact about the Renaissance, wonderful. That's good. Because that's kind of our big hallmark musically of this era is polyphonic vocal music. And we had, Italian and English madrigals were the big ones. So there we go. All right, and then the Baroque.
Fancy.
Fancy. That's kind of our key word, right? Fancy. I promise you, I actually did use that on the test. I said it so much that I made sure to put it in there. So it's fancy. What texture does it feature? Homophonic. There's a lot of homophonic texture for the first time. So while we've had either monophonic chant or super polyphonic, super polyphonic madrigals in the Renaissance, now we've got homophony for the first time so that we can feature the soloist. And we see that in things like opera, oratorio, and the concerto. Those are the big art forms that feature our soloist and and homophonic textures, for sure. They have to have those or else we couldn't feature the soloist. And then we have that special type of polyphony. Do you guys remember what that was called? It was just on your Baroque quiz.
Fugue.
The fugue, right. That was another hallmark of this era. Now, once again, it's not that we don't ever use fugue ever again. It's not like we do it in Baroque and then all of a sudden, the classical shows up and we stop using fugue. No, that doesn't happen. But it's just super, super popular during the Baroque. That's all. Just like with the madrigals in the Renaissance. It's, that was kind of their heyday. Not that they were never ever written ever again, they were written again, but they kind of had their big time. They were in the Renaissance. So fugue kind of has its heyday in the Baroque. So that is the era where we have that contrast between light and dark in the art, right? And it happens in music too, where we've got the shifting of texture between, you know, thick texture and then thin texture. Thick, thin, thick, thin. And some of that is because of, you know, going from the whole group to the soloist, whole group to soloist, whole group to soloist. So those are important hallmarks of this era. Fancy, opera, oratorio, and concerto, and the special type of polyphony called fugue. All right, so knowing each of these art forms and what they are, you know, you've done this throughout each of your previous exams or your previous quizzes. There will be something where I play, let's put that in bold and underlined. Apparently not underlined. Mm-hmm. That's going to be, I have created those questions already, I know for sure that I did, showing the difference between recitative and aria. They're true and false questions, okay? So it'll be a thing where I say, listen to this clip, and you click on the clip, and a new window pops up that has the sound file in it, and it'll play, and you can play it as many times as you want. And it will either be a recitative or an aria, and it'll say true or false. The person in this clip is singing an aria, true or false. And I think that's the question both times, is the person is singing an aria. So you know one of them is going to be true and one of them is going to be false. So which one is it? Do you guys want to do a couple of examples real quick?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do some of those from some operas and be like, okay, which one is the recitative? Which one is the aria? I don't want the Marriage of Figaro. I want... Okay. Yeah, watch me skip. What do you think? It's an aria. Does she sound like she's talking, like reciting text, like we would talk? And there's a lot more orchestra. So that is an aria. I think it's the end of one of the acts. Spars on our window. Stops. All right. So what might come after that? We've just had an aria. The aria is where they sometimes repeat the same text. The recitative is usually not repeated at all. It's usually different stuff. Lighter accompaniment. So she sounds a little bit more like she's talking regularly. We just have the harpsichord. Let's go, let's jump to another place and see. What do you think?
Sapendo testimonio, perché manca la foglio. Sono inutile sforzi. Non mi toccare, non mi toccare. No.
Ideas?
Aria,
Why?
because there was a lot of orchestra in it.
It's a lot of orchestra, and the singing is a little bit more lyrical, right? Let's keep listening.
Oh, figlia mia, non lo sperate, Dio mi lasci, figlio chiaro. Figlia mia, non lo sperate, Dio mi lasci, figlio chiaro. È un dotto della mia sorte, queste scuse, signori.
All right, let's see if I can pick another one. Sorry.
Sì, signor, mamma ha trattato questa vita di signor, mamma ha trattato, sì, signor, mamma ha trattato, sì, signor, mamma ha trattato,
That poor man.
That poor man? Yeah, he's a magistrate. All right, let's see. And Aria, there's just a lot of people in it. All right.
non si incomodi,
E io per lui merito di dar lezione alla ragazza.
What do you think?
Farne un merito con voi, perché con quel biglietto si potrebbe,
che cosa?
io, se potessi parlare alla ragazza, io creder per grazia, ne farei che ne vede il conti un'altra amante.
Aria or
That's
recitative?
the T, just the harpsichord, and they're having another like.
Yeah, they're having a conversation. It sounds like they're having a conversation and just the harpsichord underneath, right? So that's recitative and aria. I think the clips I've chosen are about probably anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute long. So you have a while in each one of them to listen. Okay, so that's one part of it. All right, needing to identify the difference between recitative in aria, in opera, and oratorio. I should put by sound, because by ear or by sound, because it's not me asking you to describe the difference. It's me asking you to hear the difference between them. So hear the difference between them. All right, and then so needing to identify by ear or sound pieces from each era, like by their era. So if I say, all right, listen to the following clip, tell me which era this is from, or this is most likely from. I'll probably have a couple of those questions. So I'm gonna turn this off because I don't wanna give you any clues based on what image shows up in YouTube. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it can clue you into what it is that we're listening to. Or if I pick a composer that you know. All right, how about this one? Let's get a good one. What do you think?
There's a Renaissance.
Renaissance. Now tell me why. That's important.
Well, they're little boys. They sound like little boys.
They're little girls. They're
Oh.
girls. They're grown women. It's okay though. But yeah, what is it about what they're singing? Not just who is singing. Is what they're singing monophonic chant? No, right? There's a lot of texture to that. It's polyphonic. Cool. So we know it's going to be from one of the two later eras. It's not really a fugue, right? Because in a fugue we have a long opening where we hear the melody all by itself. So we know it's not just some kind of vocal fugue that's going on. Is it an opera?
No.
Right. So what is it likely? Likely a madrigal. It's an English madrigal. We hear English text here and we're going, oh, okay. English, polyphonic, probably a madrigal. So when you think of what it is, think also why it is the thing that it is. Let's see. Sorry. How about that's an ad,
All right.
not that one. All right. All right.
Is that Baroque?
Why is it the Baroque? You're right. It is the Baroque. It's what?
Fancy music.
It's fancy.
It's fancy.
There was, it sounded like a trumpet solo. It was like the lead.
Yeah, it's a concerto, right? And it's got instruments in it. Like, if there are instruments in it, it's going to be the Baroque, because everything else that we've talked about, the hallmarks of the other eras, monophonic chant, and then madrigals, which are vocal, they don't have any instruments in them. So if you hear instruments, you can bet your sweet bippy it's going to be the Baroque, because that's the only one that the only era that really features instruments in it this time around. So it's like, okay, well that makes it a little bit easier. Hold on. Sorry guys, I want to find another good example.
How many questions are going to be on here?
Not that many, probably 20 at the most. I don't think there will be even that many. See if I can get, all right. Is it monophonic? Is it homophonic though? No, it's polyphonic. Polyphonic vocal music in English, probably the Renaissance. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Now I know you can hear a little drone underneath there, but I hope, what is it? Middle Ages, right? It's chant. There's just a random little going on underneath. There's some instrument that they put in there to accompany that. So yeah, woof. That's relatively easy. Let's look at about what type. Probably. If we know it's from Baroque, what is it likely though? Is it an opera? No. Is it an oratorio? No. Let's get that out of the way. Is it a fugue? No, not a fugue. So what are we left with? Ritornello is a concept used in this thing a lot. A concerto. Yeah, it's a concerto. It's actually the first movement of Summer from Vivaldi, that Four Seasons one that we listened to. We listened to Winter, and that's the first movement of Summer.
Wow, that does not give me a summer.
Doesn't remind you of summer very much, does it? I wonder whether the poem that goes with this, I wonder whether it's about a storm or something that it starts off with, because that seems like it could be, maybe.
It does remind me of a rainy summer day.
I wonder what it is. Spring, summer. Beneath the blazing sun's relentless heat, men in flocks are sweltering, pines are scorched. We hear the cuckoo's voice, then sweet songs of the turtle dove and finch are heard. Strong breezes stir the air, but threatening north wind sweeps them suddenly aside. The shepherd trembles, fearful of violent storm and what may lie ahead. Okay, I get it. I'm here with you, Vivaldi. His limbs are now awakened from their repose by fear of lightning's flash and thunder's roar as gnats and flies buzz furiously around. Alas, his worst fears were justified, as the heavens roar and great hailstones beat down upon the proudly standing corn. Woo! So when we think of summer, we think of much more pleasant things. Apparently, this poem was not very pleasant at all.
I think of corn being pelted by hail.
By hail, yeah, that's not where I go when I think about summer. But remember, what type of music is this? We talked about it being a concerto, but what else was it? Where it's instrumental music that tries to tell a story. Remember what it's called? Just for giggles. It's program music, right? It's either based off of a poem or a general storytelling idea, like it's trying to tell about an event or a story that is well established. In this case, Vivaldi was like, oh, okay, I'm going to take these poems and make instrumental music that sounds like the poems. So while, we had this cute little Renaissance thing where we did word and text painting with the words and then making the music match the words, Vivaldi was like, oh, let me go ahead and do that, but with instrumental music instead of vocal music. I'm going to take it someplace different, do something new. And then other composers thought, well, that's a really cool idea. We should do that also. So yeah. All right. Do you feel okay about being able to identify pieces from each era, being able to say, that one's Renaissance, that one's Baroque, that one's the Middle Ages? Okay, I know I'm gonna have some of those. I'm gonna look at what I have on the quiz so far. Let me go ahead and do that to see whether there is anything else that I know, like what else have I put on it already? I wanna edit. Because it's not quite done yet. I had some issues with some of my sound files yesterday. When did we first see opera and oratorio? Okay. Fugues have what kind of texture? Fugues. Polyphonic. I mean, I would say that that's kind of like the big idea stuff, right? Wouldn't you guys say that of all the things that I asked you about, it was like, all right, recitative and aria, know what a madrigal is, and text painting, like no monophonic chant. If we're just taking the big ideas from each era, that's kind of it, isn't it? Without going into too much detail in any one of the, and that's not, I don't want to go into that much detail. You guys have already taken quizzes in detail on each of these eras, so I don't want to give you a quiz, I don't want to give you a midterm that goes into that kind of detail, because you've already done it. There's no need to do it again. Does anybody have any questions? There's a couple by sound things. There'll probably be, 5 to 10 questions that are listen to this thing and then tell me about it. I put a fake, there's literally D on almost everything. If it's a multiple choice where it can be the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, the Baroque, it won't let me do just those 3. So D says, this one's fake, don't choose it. On like every question that has a D. So don't pick D ever. It's the wrong answer. And I've set it to randomize the answers. So whichever one says this one's fake, don't choose it, whether it's A or B or C or whatever, don't pick that one.
I'm gonna choose it at least once.
Don't you dare.
At least.
There are not enough points on this. There are not enough questions for you to just do a throwaway by choosing that one. Don't do it. Yeah.
Is duple and triple gonna be on there?
I don't think so. Nope. No, because I know that's still something that a lot of people are working on, where it's like, I'm still not quite sure about that. Don't worry, I still have college music majors sometimes that are struggling with duple and triple. So something I want you to be aware of that I will continue to point out, but I know that it's a struggle. But if you guys don't have any other questions, what I will do is email you. I'll email the whole class when the quiz is up. Like I said, it's not totally done because some of the sound files were giving me nonsense yesterday. I have to go through a long procedure to get them. I used to have this great way of stealing YouTube clips, but the clip converter that I used to have no longer allows me to convert clips that have music in them, which is everything that I do because I teach music. So I have to go through the process of recording the sound through, if anybody here a Mac user, you know how Soundflower, I have to go through, change the output to Soundflower, record it through Soundflower, go through, make sure that it worked, come back, save it. It saves as an M4A, which not everybody's computer can read, so I have to go back through another program, process it as an MP3, and then upload it to our test site. So it's annoying me just a little bit. I'm a little angry about it because I used to just be able to rip from YouTube right to MP3. So now I've got like 3 or 4 extra steps that are making me an angry little bear. This will be due. There are not going to be that many questions on this, but it's due like the Tuesday night of fall break. So like the end of fall break, guys. So you will have from sometime today until Tuesday at 11:59 to complete like a 20 question midterm. You can save it and come back to it whenever you want, No big deal, just like any other online quiz, and you can take as long as you want on it. But yeah, if you guys don't have any other questions, if you're traveling, travel safe. Yes, ma'am?
I don't know what is there still a concert happening at 9:25?
Yes, there is. There is a concert happening at 9:25 in Hammer Hall, second floor. It will be short. I have every confirmation that it is not going to be more than a half an hour long. So if you're looking for an easy one to get done, this is it today. All right, have an excellent fall break, guys. Stay warm this morning. Go get a coffee or a hot chocolate.